Alright. So, last I left off, I was tasked with going to the Forest of Myth. But that seems a little bit a ways away, so I'm gonna have Yona make a nice home-cooked meal before I set off.
I'm ready to make that stew anytime. I'm ready.
Or do I lack the ingredients still? I thought I had the ingredients. I don't have wheat. I think there's wheat in the market, so let me just fix that error really quick. I should have checked before I started, but it's not really that big a deal. What I did do in the interim was knock out 5 parts of the fishing quest, upgrade the Beastbane to level 2, and a whole bunch of other side quests that gave some nice cash money. So I do have a little bit of money to throw around. Do you have wheat, berries? No.
It's a lot.
You're not the grocer. I don't know, I'm talking to you.
We've got...
There, 1 wheat.
Come.
I'll go get a little bowl of stew from Yona, and then we'll be on our way to the Forest of Myth. Which, as I mentioned last time, is going to take a minute. And the reason why it'll take some time will be made apparent very quickly once we get there. It's not exactly your typical area that you would find in
Hey, Yona, I got your ingredients.
an RPG.
Yay! Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get started right now.
Yona, wait. Be careful not to boil it too long, okay?
Come on, I'd never forget that.
I recognize most of the ingredients, but the chunks of meat are so big I don't think they cooked through.
Eat up, okay?
Sure, Yona. It looks, great. Come tomorrow, Yona's not gonna be the only one here who's sick.
Say, next time you go out, could you pick something up for me?
Sure, Yona. What do you need?
A melon.
A melon? You got it.
I think I have like 10 of those because I accidentally
got your
bought
melon,
some.
Yona.
Thanks.
Yeah.
If there's anything else you want, just let me know.
Well, since you offered, would you mind getting me a watermelon?
A watermelon this time? Sure thing.
I'll be waiting.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot more anticlimactic than I expected. I expected some vice snark about Yona's cooking, but it's not great. I don't think I did that quest in the original, so that was something I was hoping to see. Oh well, win some, lose some. I'll get some watermelons later. I had bought like 10 of them for some lady in Facade, and she took them all, so... That's side quests. Anyway, up on my friend the boar here, and we're off to the Forest of Myth after a less than savory meal. And should be just over here. There's another boar over there just hanging out. Yep, here it is. Whoops. So this is apparently a whole...
It sure is quiet here.
Such silence bodes ill. There's trouble on the way. I'm certain of it.
You know, a little optimism now and then wouldn't hurt, Vice.
Such cheek.
This is supposed to be a whole village on its own, and you can see there's like little tree houses, but it seems just a bit odd. And I'm not sure why that is.
Beware the words.
The words? What do you mean?
Contagious words. Those who dream.
Those who dream?
Hold a moment. There is a strange new sensation in my mind.
Now you'll notice the dialogue box got bigger,
It is not quizzical.
and Vice is reacting to the narration.
What's going on?
The villager's body shuddered as he slowly opened his eyes.
Perhaps we should start by asking this man.
Who are you?
We heard something happened to this village, so we came to see if we could help.
The mayor stared at NieR and Vice.
If you can speak to me, I must have caught you in my dream.
In your dream?
The mayor explained. In the past weeks, a mysterious disease called the Death Dream had spread across the forest of myth. Those who caught it were cursed to fall asleep and live forever within the world of their own dreams. The village mayor had determined the Death Dream was spread from person to person by spoken words, but before he could learn more, the disease took him as well. And the dialogue box has gotten even bigger. Vice stared at the mayor, his mouth twitching slightly.
Now see here. Are you saying that we have been absorbed into your dream?
Well, yes. I think you have.
In other words, we've caught the death dream?
Before the mayor can confirm NieR's suspicion, Vice exploded with rage.
Ridiculous. Preposterous. Completely unfathomable on every conceivable level. I don't even recall falling asleep.
That's just how the death dream works.
Though polite, the mayor was clearly trying to brush aside the book's remarks.
My remarks are not to be brushed aside, fool.
The mayor twisted his mouth into an embarrassed grimace, then quickly changed the subject to who NieR had seen and what they had discussed since coming to the village.
Something there must have caused you to enter my dream. A certain conversation, a specific word, something.
Now the game has faded out. NieR and Vice racked their brains, but could find no easy solutions. There were simply too many words to consider, too much random chatter, too many meaningless conversations.
Grimoire Vice does not engage in meaningless conversations.
The mere suggestion that Vice chose his words carelessly seemed to sting his pride.
It does not seem to sting my pride, you bloated gasbag of a narrator. It has demolished it utterly.
Irritated, Vice looked skyward, as if searching for the answers in the heavens.
I was doing no such thing. Just leave me alone already.
The anger created by his harsh words bled over to NieR like a contagion. So, before I go on, disclaimer, this section of the game is a text adventure. Hence why I said that this portion would take a while. I am going to read it to the best of my ability, just like this was language arts class and you were called upon to read a passage of a book, but instead it's the entire thing. I can't do voices, so I'm not gonna bother, but prepare yourselves. This is going to go on for quite some time. Anyway. Wait, said NieR suddenly. Did someone just say contagion? Yes, I believe so. What of it? Well, that villager told us to watch out for contagious words, right? The mayor leaned forward with renewed interest, pushing a startled Vice aside in the process. He must have said something, right? Asked the mayor. Some specific combination of words? What was it? It was about dreaming, or something that dreams, or... Oh, what the hell was it? Sheep? Cried Vice suddenly, blurting out the first thing that popped into his head. This head, that's what it's written. The others stared at him for a moment before slowly shaking their heads. After a few more minutes of thought, NieR's face suddenly lit up. I remember, he said. Those who dream. That's what he said. I'm sure of it. At this, the mayor produced a thick sheaf of papers from his pocket. He flipped through them a few times before finally nodding his approval at NieR. That sounds right, he said, as a stray sheet of paper fluttered to the ground. My notes also mentioned something about that. I bet it was the last thing you heard before you fell asleep. The mayor shook his head, his worn pencil stub tracing lines across a lone piece of paper. For the last month, I've done nothing but study the disease we call the Death Dream, he said. I mean, I'm the mayor, right? It's my job to protect people from whatever comes along, but I never expected a couple of outsiders to start entering people's dreams. The mayor paused, a grimace crossing his face. I should probably be taking notes or something. Vice immediately fired back. I applaud the force of will it takes to research disease in your dreams, he said, but perhaps we should bend your efforts to escaping this place instead of trying to understand it. The mayor's hand tightened around his pencil, snapping off the tip. I've tried to escape. From the very first moment I realized I was locked inside my own dream, I've been looking for a way out, but I don't think it exists. I mean, this is my dream, right? If there was an exit, I'd know about it. He paused for a moment, his unfocused eyes staring at nothing. My village was beautiful, he said to no one in particular, and it was filled with the most wonderful people you could ever hope to meet. But once this disease took hold, things changed. It's like someone took a sponge and soaked all the color out of our lives. I just want us to be whole again. I want us to be free. I won't stop trying until it happens. NieR nodded in agreement. Huh? Wait a second, I didn't nod. Look, if we can be of any help, said NieR, just ask. Now, hold on, I did not just say that. Silence, cried Weiss. The Grimoire looked from NieR to the mayor and back again, his face filling with confidence. Grimoire Weiss's face is always confident, thank you very much. I said I wasn't gonna do voices, but I got tempted to. Now see here, Mayor, you told us that nothing can exist in this dream without your knowing of it. But yet you seemed surprised to see us when we first arrived, yes? The mayor slowly raised his head, realization dawning on his face. Oh my god, he said. You're right. You're right. I had no idea you were coming. The human imagination is a limitless engine, said Weiss. And dreams are the fuel. If you can imagine an exit, then it must be so. With your permission, we shall search it out. Thank you, said the mayor. I don't know how I can repay you. Payment is not required. We are as eager as you to be done with this place. The mayor suddenly felt as if he could breathe again. He had almost forgotten what it was like. Good luck, you two, he called at the departing forms of NieR and Weiss. We're all counting on you. As NieR slowly faded into the misty forest, the mayor was struck by a sense of déjà vu. I saw this man once before, he thought. But where? NieR's mood darkened as he trudged through the forest. Hours earlier, when the beauty of the place was still a new thing, he'd be confident they could get in, find the exit, and be home in time for dinner. But the deeper they went, the more the forest closed around him. The mist made it difficult to see more than a foot in any direction, and moss-covered rocks seemed determined to twist his ankle. More than once he'd been forced to steady himself on the rough bark of a tree, and his hands now left small trails of blood on everything he touched. Additionally, Weiss was proving to be a spectacularly poor traveling companion. Unhindered by either terrain or physical effort, he spent most of his time urging NieR to pick up the pace and grumbling about their slow progress. Finally, after Weiss muttered something about legless turtles being more adept at navigating the environment, NieR snapped. Okay, Weiss, cram it for a second, would you? You don't have to walk. NieR leaned against a tree and tried to stretch the knots from his back. How can this stupid forest be so big? He muttered to himself. The moment the words tumbled from his mouth, a cacophony of insects sprang to life. Every imaginable form of buzz, click, and hiss roared out at a volume that rattled his teeth. NieR slapped his hands over his ears and screamed to be heard. Weiss! What's going on? NieR could see Weiss's mouth moving, but he might as well have been shouting in a tornado. The insects screamed, the forest howled, and then, just as NieR's ears seemed ready to tear from his head and go running for cover, the sound diminished. Hesitantly, he removed the hand from his left ear and listened to the creatures of the woods. Zree, 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 zree. I don't know how to do that sound. I did more sounds. Chee, something like that. Wooma. Apparently there's inklings here. Woomy. More sound effects. As the insect symphony dimmed from another decibel, NieR began to detect patterns in the sound. This isn't random, he thought. It's not just white noise. It's something else. The insects weren't just calling out. They were asking a question. 1 with it is lacking. 2 with it is ideal. 3 with it is dangerous. What is it? By my pages, is this a riddle? Oh my god, that was awful. I guess so. I mean, it seems sort of forced, but maybe it's the key to getting out of this place. Then I leave it to you to answer. 1 with it is lacking, 2 with it is ideal, 3 with it is dangerous. What is it? The answer is a secret. Inwardly furious that Vice left the task to him, NieR sighed and gave the only answer that made sense. It's a secret. Right? The sound of the insects stopped as suddenly as it began. Forest undergrowth parted before NieR like a rippling wave, opening a new path. These forest arthropods are making a road for us, said Vice with glee. Pleased at passing the test, NieR moved on with new intensity. The path offered his body relief from the undergrowth, but gave even greater cheer to his mind. As long as they were on a path, their journey had a purpose. I guess the forest has accepted us, huh? Said NieR after a bit. Vice spun around to face his companion. Do not mistake the will of this forest for some happy pet you can suddenly befriend. We have no idea where this path leads. As Vice finished speaking, the pair turned a corner and found themselves facing a clear forest spring. Smiling, NieR picked up a small rock and sent it skipping across the surface of the water. Good heavens, said Vice. I'm sorry, Liam O'Brien. His surprise was understandable. Each time the rock struck the surface of the water, a musical note rang out. When the rock finally stopped moving and sank to the bottom of the spring, the ripples it left behind came together to form words. I enter through the window, but break no glass. When night falls, I vanish. What am I? Absurdly easy, barked Vice. Now answer it. NieR grits his teeth and tried not to reach out and strangle his companion. He's right, after all. This one is pretty easy. How do you strangle a book? I enter through the window, but break no glass. When night falls, I vanish. What am I? Bird, a letter, or sunlight? Well, it's sunlight. A plume of water suddenly burst from the spring. Sunlight filtered through the trees and reflected off the plume, creating a shimmering rainbow that spanned the entire horizon. In all my years, said Vice softly, I have never seen such a sight. Perhaps I have misunderstood the intentions of this place. Hey look, cried NieR, awaking Vice from his daze. Ooh, excuse me. There's a house or something over there. Glancing in the direction of his friend's extended hand, Vice saw a small cottage nestled among the trees. That's weird, isn't it, Vice? I mean, who would build a house all the way out here? NieR walked over and pounded on the door. After a minute of solid banging, the door cracked open and a small man peered out. His body was cloaked from neck to toe in a large black cape, while his face was obscured by mist. Began NieR, but before he could get any further, the cloaked man held up a hand and began speaking. I have 4 legs in the morning and 2 at noon, but end the night with 3. What am I? NieR tried to ask the cloaked man who he was and what he was doing there, but he simply repeated the question. If we wish to engage this man in conversation, said Vice, it seems we must answer his riddle. Yeah, I suppose, said NieR. Well, at least it's an easy one. I have 4 legs in the morning and 2 at noon, but end the night with 3. What am I? I'm sure plenty of you have heard this one before, so I'm not even going to pause for dramatic effect. It's a man. The mist dissolved from the cloaked figure as he spoke a single word. Correct. With that, the man flung his garment aside, revealing his true identity. You're the mayor, cried NieR. The small man slowly shook his head. I am not the mayor you know. Now listen to my words. Long ago, I saw a version of you that was not yourself. Sorry? What's that mean? It will make sense in time. At present, I simply congratulate you on cracking the seal of the Death Dream. Now you must go to the person at the forest entrance. With that, the man turned on his heel and slammed the door behind him. As NieR watched, mist seeped up from the ground and enveloped the cottage, erasing it from existence. When NieR and Vice returned to the forest entrance, they found the mayor leaning against a tree. As soon as he caught sight of the duo, he sprang to his feet and scrambled over to them. Good gravy, he cried. You made it! You actually made it back! His left hand grasped NieR's and pumped it so fiercely he threatened to dislodge from the socket, while his right seized Vice by the cover and swung him through the air. Gah! By the heavens, stop shaking me, fool! We have not even told you if we were successful or not. The mayor smiled broadly and shook his head. I'm just happy you're alive. I didn't think I'd ever see you again. NieR withdrew himself from the mayor's eager handshake with a slight smile. We broke the Death Dream seal, he said. At least, I think we did. The mayor's face beamed as NieR filled him in on the details. When the tale was done, the 3 of them laid down on the forest ground and fell asleep. NieR cocked his head. Okay, hang on a second. This is crazy. Why don't we just lay down and go to sleep? Cease your endless prattle and go to sleep, fool. Fighting against the rules of this place is futility itself. NieR and the mayor obediently reclined atop the grassy earth. Have you forgotten, continued Vice? It is words that control the death dream, words that allow us to move from place to place. Oh, excuse me again. No matter how unnatural they seem, the words are absolute. Therefore, if the words tell us to sleep, then sleep we shall. And once we do, the story will continue. With that, the trio found their eyes growing heavy, their breath slowing. This is the first time, began the mayor. First time I felt tired since I was imprisoned here. His words were cut off by a loud, long yawn, and he remembered nothing more. They might have slept for an hour or a year. When they awoke, things had a slightly more real quality to them. The mist felt thicker, the leaves greener. It was clear that they had awakened from their dream. NieR shook the mayor's shoulder gently. Good news, he said. I think we made it. Oh, wow, said the mayor in an awed voice. We did. I'm back. He blinked once, and then again, as if not quite believing the sight before him. We two have no idea how much this means. The death dream was spreading through our village, and I wanted to... Well, I thought I could figure out how to stop it, but I guess that wasn't the case. I must have caught the disease and become trapped in my own dream. The mayor started to stand, then collapsed back to the earth. He stared at his legs as if trying to remember how they worked, then glanced at NieR and shrugged. Without a word, the young man reached down and pulled the mayor to his feet. NieR? Ooh. Real life may take some getting used to, said the mayor as a wry smile crossed his lips. You shall relearn in short order, I am sure, said Vice. For now, you should return to your home and rest. No, said the mayor, swaying on unsteady feet. No, I can't. Some of the villagers are still trapped in the death dream. They have to save them. The mayor slowly made his way to the divine tree in the center of the village, then bowed his head and prayed silently. This is a holy tree, he explained when the prayer was finished. It's the guardian of our village's history and memories. Superstition will only make our mission harder, muttered Vice. We should not put our faith in the gods. The mayor shook his head. Not the gods, the words. Legend says that our tree is home to a powerful magic known as a sealed verse. NieR and Vice could not contain their surprise. It seemed a goal had been found in the most unexpected of places. I say, muttered Vice, this is certainly a stroke of luck. As the three of them said their goodbyes, NieR mentioned the strange man who had given them the third riddle and the mysterious words he had left them with. I once saw a version of you that was not yourself, muttered the mayor. What in the world does that mean? Lost in thought, he stared into space for a long moment. You know, he said softly, this is going to sound odd, but I had a feeling I'd seen you before too. NieR tried to keep a straight face and failed, but the mayor didn't seem to notice. Deja vu, right? Anyway, I figure it's just some kind of illusion created by the death dream. It probably doesn't mean anything. NieR gave the mayor a nod and a smile, but inwardly his thoughts were racing. There's something wrong about the mayor and his words. And what exactly is going on here? That riddle would prove to be the most difficult one of all.
Oh, thank you so much. Now I can finally return to a normal life.
This is one of the most bizarre diseases I have ever encountered.
I know. That's why we have to help the other villagers, no matter what.
Contained dark execution magic.
For a sealed verse, that didn't take much effort.
Yes, all a touch too easy if you ask me. It's almost as if someone was guiding us to this village.
Don't overthink advice.
Right. Well, it's certainly the least amount of effort put into a sealed verse. But boy, do I need a second to catch my breath. Which I'm not gonna get, because as he mentioned, there are other villagers that need help. And we'll start with this
must
villager.
Be dreaming too.
It would appear that way, yes.
Enter the villager's dream? Yeah.
Can't say I'm very excited to go back there. That dream world sorta creeps me out.
Perhaps you should spend less time complaining and more time getting on with the mission.
Yeah.
Here we go again! I breathe air scented with death and resist the urge to laugh, for I know it will sound like the words of a madman. How long have I been in this fresh hell? My box, my prison, is tucked beneath a stairway in the long unused catacombs of some infinite castle. Outside, I hear the sounds of a funeral dirge that plays without end. Light has no place here. Wind is a forgotten friend. I pray for death to come. He forsakes me. Time passes. An eternity slips by in the single tick of the clock. I read that so poorly, I'm sorry. Someone knocks on my prison. Anyone there? I hear an unfamiliar voice say. My savior! I claw at the door of my jail, embedding thick splinters under my ragged nails. I scream for help. I laugh. I sob. Surely this is a product of my addled mind. Surely it cannot be true. Help me! I cry. For all the love of the gods, help me! Impossibly, I hear the sound of a lock being torn out and falling to the floor. As the door slowly creaks open, I have just enough time to see a silver-haired boy and a floating book before the light pours inside. My eyes, accustomed to blackness, explode with pain, and I am forced to turn away. Who are you? I ask, shaking hands covering my face. How have you come to this place? I am Grimoire Weiss. This is NieR. Long have we been searching for you. Now come, stand. We shall awaken from this nightmare together. The one known as NieR extends his hand and pulls me from the cell. Though my eyes are slow to adjust to freedom, my ears are as keen as ever, and they recognize the staccato sounds of heavy rain. Never thought to hear that again, I whisper. Would that this were not such a terrible storm, said Grimoire Weiss. Look at your feet. I force my eyes open and see water pooling around my ankles and lapping at my shins. There's so much of it. Yes, and more comes with each moment we delay. If we do not make good our escape, we shall all drown in this castle. We know you are weak, but you are our only hope to survive this place. Time, that long-forgotten friend, had made itself known again. I nodded my head and swore to save my rescuers, no matter the cost. Castle catacombs are a maze, twisting upon themselves like endless entrails of a giant. I squint down the dim corridors and proceed north. At the end of the corridor, I find a row of 20 gorgeous canopied beds resting atop a carpet of velvet, all are covered in a thick layer of dust and cobwebs. Searching for the door to the next room, I come upon a shapeless mass of gray matter that has been shoved against the side of the wall. And despite my fever, I think I see the outlines of a door just beyond. When I reach out a finger and touch a piece of the mass, it turns to dust and drifts away on the wind. Realization slowly dawns, and I fall to my knees and weep. Corpses. I face a mountain of charred and crumbling corpses. I look from it to the beds and back again until the horror dawns full upon me. Someone has piled these bodies into a tower and set them ablaze. Whether they were alive or dead, I do not know, and sanity will not permit me to consider the proposition further. I make a sound, whether scream or laughter I cannot be certain. Then my mind grants me merciful blackness, and I find myself opening the door and leaving that most terrible of rooms. I squint down the dim corridors. Options are east and south, but we just came from south, so east would make sense. I squint down the dim corridors and proceed north. I squint down the dim corridors. Let's go north. At the end of the path, the waters rise to my waist, exhausting me physically and spiritually. I pray that this is the way out. Eventually, I can stand the sight of the waters no longer, and so turn my eyes upward. Imagine my surprise when I see a series of paintings hanging on the faded plaster wall. Each depicts a person in the prime of life, clad in clothing of the highest quality. The styles, however, are strange to me, leading me to believe that these people had lived long, long ago. One subject wears an outfit that particularly catches my eye. Constricted of a thin, breezy cloth and decorated with a motif of flowers and birds, while encircling the figure's waist is a leather belt of the most perfect construction. It is a stunning costume by even modern standards. As I gaze at the portrait, I am struck by a desire to touch it with my own hands. And as I extend a single finger to the painting, I am gripped by a most unpleasant feeling. Staring closely at the image, I see it bend and warp into the shape of another finger. Something behind the picture is pointing at me! Is it another prisoner? A fellow inmate trapped for eternity in this place? I cannot let it pass, and so I seize the portrait with both hands and throw it into the water. The wall is hollow behind the painting, and inside I can just make out a body. Whether or not this is a prisoner, there would be no rescue. The poor soul is long dead. Scraps of clothing lie on the floor around the bones. Only a small amount of fabric has survived, but it features the same delicate designs that were depicted in the portrait. I have been admiring a row of corpses, blocked from view by portraits of each victim at their pinnacle. Enough! Shielding my eyes, I paddle through the water. I Squint down the dim corridors and proceed south. Squint down the dim corridors and proceed. I went east, north, north, now I'm south, so east again. At the end of the path, I find myself in a great hall with only the sounds of rain for comfort. The waterlogged red carpet swishes beneath my feet as I approach the center of the room. Once there, I behold a beautiful dining table upon which rests china and silver of the finest construction, as well as the remains of a fantastic feast. As my eyes continue to adjust, I see many chairs surrounding the table, each holding a dinner guest. Noticing movement, I approach the chair at the table's head, but as the truth of the matter dawns on me, I recoil in horror. The host of the feast is a corpse, as are all the invited guests. An army of foul, wriggling insects have made homes in their remains. And this is the movement I saw. This once splendid feast was now nothing more than a requiem for the damned. I take a moment to steady my shaking hands, then slowly back away from the table. Desperate to lose sight of the abomination before me, my gaze lands upon the chairs upon which the dead were seated. This is a mistake, for the chairs prove to be even more terrible than the feast itself. Each one is covered in a layer of spikes that run from the seat, up the back, and down the arms. This explains the color of the carpet beneath my feet. I can only pray that the unfortunate diners were dead when the meal began. Or if not, it is a simple task to envision the agonized screams that must have sprung forth from their mouths. My mind grasps frantically at the possibility that these souls have committed some terrible crime for which this was punishable. Though in truth, I suspect they had committed no such crime at all. There would be no tomorrow for these unfortunates. This was their last supper. I squint down the dim corridors, proceed north. Against all hope, we make it to the front door. Break it down, someone cries, and so I give myself to the effort. In tandem with NieR and Grimoire Vice, I slam my body against the thick, sturdy door. On the third try, it gives way, and we find ourselves sprawled on the ground outside the castle. The storm is in retreat. Clouds above are still dark and foreboding, but to the west I can see a thin shimmer of sunlight trying to break through. How can I thank you? I cry as tears join the rain on my cheeks. I surely would have died in there. Looking down, I suddenly notice that my dress is in tatters, and sheepishly try to cover my exposed skin. Your dress? Asks Vice. Then you are a woman, madam. I am. I proffer the two a smile. I suppose that comes as something of a surprise, seeing as I only exist in the form of words. Words are melting together now. I can see that the one known as NieR is disappointed that the torn dress will be given no further description, but he hides it well. Thanks for jabbing at the player there. With a nod and a shrug, the three of us set forth to our awakening. But behind us, an awakening of another kind is taking place. Black smoke fills the abandoned castle, providing the countless damned souls inside with their final shroud. After a moment, the castle's windows shatter with a mighty roar. A fresh breeze blows through the hallways and corridors, clearing the smoke away for good. Let's restructure. As we watch in awe, uncountable black shadows slowly flicker to life, crossing to and fro in front of the broken windows. The castle's dead have awakened to their new life. Shades.
You have anything to say about that?
Hopefully there will be no labyrinth next time.
I hear that.
So that's one villager down. I think there's only two. Let me check this area while I take a minute to breathe real quick.